Oh, good evening and welcome to Be More Super Live, broadcasting on X, which I've got to say I still call Twitter, Facebook and YouTube. And we're joined by an awesome guest from my favorite show on MGM Plus. It's the wonderful Chloe Van Landschoot. Chloe, welcome to the show, my love.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Oh, do you know what? I am so excited because this show, I was late to the party. I didn't watch season 1 and 2 when they came out, and I only discovered it recently, and I binged 1 and 2. And I've got to say, it's one of the most freakiest shows I've ever seen, but one of the best. It's got everything in it. It's got everything you could ever want in a show. So congratulations on season 3. We're on episode 4 at the moment, and it's absolutely stunning to watch. It really is. But I wanted to go over a few things before we talk about From, which I found out about you, and I thought it was quite amazing. So you play, obviously, the town's sort of nurse, doctor, in this wonderful Fromville, as people call it. But I didn't realize it mirrored quite a lot in your real life. So when you're not gracing our screens, you're also a nurse. So what got you into that? I mean, what type of nursing do you do? And, you know, which came first? Was it acting or nursing?
Yeah, funny question. They kind of found each other at the same time. I've always been a performer my whole life. I was a dancer and all that stuff. So that part very much lived in me, but I never saw performing arts as like a career. In a way, I was like a science kid and wanted to go into medicine. I knew that pretty early on and then switched into nursing. And then I started taking acting class like right around the time I started nursing professionally. I started my career out in the emergency department actually, and it was chaos. And I learned that I'm a pretty sensitive person. So acting class became this like amazing place to like kind of externalize all the insanity of of working in Emerge. And it turned out I wasn't too bad at it. So I had an acting teacher who was like, "You're a disaster." Like, because I was just like limbs and feelings and emotions everywhere. But he was like, "Keep at it. Like, you got something going on there." So I was like, okay. So I just kept failing for a really long time, because that's what acting mostly is, and kept trucking along nursing. I switched out of Emerge because that was no longer a viable nursing path for me as a sensitive human being, but I was very fascinated by the world of emergency medicine. It's such a canvas of storytelling to just you see such a spectrum of humanity in like a 12-hour shift. So yeah, I was fascinated by the place, but I switched into pre-op and post-op, so taking care of people before and after surgery. A little more calm, as you would say. But yeah, I still do it. I do it once
suppose
a week.
it's not for the squeamish, though, I suppose, because obviously the emergency room is one thing, but then surgery is another. Whereabouts are you calling in from? Because, you know, hospitals over here are going to be slightly different to the hospitals across the pond. So whereabouts are you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm in Toronto, in Canada.
Toronto
Yeah.
Maple Leafs. I've seen them play
So,
live.
have you? Are you a hockey
Yeah.
fan?
No. Well,
Gotcha.
I went to Washington, D.C., and I saw the Washington Capitals play the Maple Leafs, and I was really excited because I wanted to see a big fight. And then there was nothing. And it was it was like a gentleman's sport. And apparently, when the score is so close, they don't bother, you know, having scraps and being all over the place. So I was a bit disappointed. But I'm an American football fan. I've got to say, I've got to
Very good.
confess. But I used to play it in the UK. Yeah, I love seeing the games out there. But Canada, it's one of the places I've always wanted to go to. Find a
Never
Mountie,
been?
Tim Hortons, maple syrup,
Not Tim
you name it.
Hortons.
Yeah, Tim Hortons. Apparently, it's not very
It's
good
in
in
the UK
Canada.
now.
It is. I
Isn't
know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
in Manchester for a film festival last year and I was like, "Tim Hortons?
yeah.
Why are you here?"
French vanilla latte, the French roast or whatever
Yeah.
they do, and it's lovely. But apparently, every Canadian I've spoken to has said it's absolute trash. There are
It's
better
such
places.
trash.
But for
We're
us, we
ex-
think it's great because it's something new.
it's because it's
Um,
new. Yeah.
and it's new. So you obviously you worked through the pandemic as well, which my
Hmm.
wife did as well, and I can understand how much stress and pressure you must have been on because it's affected everyone. What was that like working as a nurse during that time? And what was your biggest takeaway from that period? Because I think it was a testing period for us all. It definitely separated the good and the bad people because there were people that were following guidelines and there was some that just didn't care or didn't believe in it. So, what was it like working in the hospitals during that time? And what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, so I got redeployed back to emergency actually during that time period because the surgical floor was deemed like a non-essential place unless it was emergent surgery, and I worked in elective surgery, so folks who had cases that weren't deemed super emergent. So they redeployed all of us based on where we had some training, and because I had worked in emerge, I got sent back down there. But it was at a hospital that I hadn't worked in the emergency department before, and so it was just like baptism by fire. It was crazy.
Mm.
Not only was I like trying to relearn how to be an emerge nurse, I was also in the throes of like a pandemic where the policies were changing every single day, and the staff were super stressed out, and it was like you would have one or two buddy shifts and then they were just like throwing you patients. Like it was a lot to take on for sure, but you just kind of go into survival mode and you trust your training and you do what you got to do. But yeah, no, it was a super challenging, very testing time, and yeah, it was crazy because you're watching the world unfold during the most kind of precarious time we've seen in a while.
Mm.
And then this audition for From comes my way, like right in the middle of it. And I remember getting this, and it was like she's a third year medical student who's in way over her head. And I was like,
Tick.
copy that. No worries there. But again, it was this big American show. I'm from Canada. I didn't I was like, I don't know if I'm not gonna get this. They're gonna hire some American actor, some big American actor, and whatever. So I had no attachment to the role when it came in. I was so also in the throes of being back at the hospital and everything like that, that yeah, I did my audition over Zoom and then went to work after. Like I was just like very bizarre. And then yeah, I got a call from my agent like a couple days later being like, "Hey, you have a network test." And I was like, "What's that?" I didn't even know what a network test was. I had never made it that far into this level of casting before. So yeah, it was all very meta. So then to be taken out of the middle of the pandemic as a nurse and then being plucked into this from world where you are surviving for your life and you're responsible for a lot and you're also in over your head, it was crazy. It was a very meta experience, and yeah, that was an interesting takeaway. But yeah, nursing, those experiences that I had um, while being deployed there fully transitioned their way into this role. Big time of
Excellent.
like just like understanding like the weight of what it means to be responsible for a lot, and you have to turn yourself off and your feelings off. But at what point does all of that bubble over? And it's been really cool watching Christy start to break down from season one to season three. And you just, yeah, I recognize myself in that.
Mm. I
I
mean,
see what happened to me while I was nursing, and I'm like watching it happen to her. I'm like, oh, girly, we gotta get you some therapy. Yeah.
that's what it all is. It's therapy, isn't it, to get you through things. I mean, this show, I've got to say, it's one of the most confusing shows to actually explain to
Yeah.
someone. So, how would you explain it to say some of the viewers, if they haven't seen it, they've been stuck under the rocks? How would you explain this show in a nutshell? Because
Oh
I
my
find it
God.
really difficult.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm like trying to come up with something clever, but it's like about a town in middle America where once you enter, you can't leave, and there's monsters in the forest. Like, and everyone's just trying to survive. Think
Yeah.
pandemic 2020.
You know,
You
I have
gotta
been telling
stay in.
everyone
Yeah.
about this show and how I've explained it. You would absolutely laugh your head off on how I was trying to sell it to my friends. It's just fantastic. So when you book this role, I mean, this show is full of amazing characters, and what the writers do, which I think is very clever. There isn't any small characters, and every character is so important to this. Is sort of like this massive machine of From. When you got the role, how much of a backstory did you get for your character, and how much did you put in yourself to develop, you know, what we see on screen?
Yeah, that's a great question. They don't actually give us too much information because they don't want us to know too much. Like again, even
Oh,
when we're shooting, we'd get like one episode at a time. We had no idea what was going to happen in the season. Like our characters were finding out in real time what was going on. So yeah, they're sneaky that way. Oh, to be a fly in the wall in John's brain, John Griffin, our creator. Um, but yeah, I knew she was uh, from Grand Rapids, Michigan, that and she had a fiance, and that's back at home, and that she was in med school and she was in her third year, and that she was on her way to see Marielle when all of this happened. But I didn't find that part out until later in the season. So initially, all I knew was I was from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I had a fiance, and that was all. And then I didn't make an elaborate backstory. Because I was literally coming from being a healthcare provider in hell. So I was like, let's just reflect on that.
yeah, just
So
for a
I
bit.
just, let's just trust that that lives in you and it's enough. Then you don't need to make anything up. You can just be like, girly, you've kind of lived it. So let's just share it. So yeah.
I mean, your character's journey over season 1 and 2 has been incredible, and you know, I look at these characters and I think to myself, how on earth do they keep going? Because you know, when you think everything's calmed down, literally everything hits the fan again. What do you think is the secret behind the resilience in your character? You know, in Christy, because you know she just keeps on going, and there's got to be a breaking point, surely, because
Yeah.
everything's happening to her now.
Yeah. Well, I just like think back to again like nursing during hell, and you just have to do what you have to do to survive. Like it's not about you, you know? And for me, it actually wasn't until I was removed from that situation where I started to feel all of my feelings about it all. Like it wasn't until yeah, I was out of the traumatic situation where I was like, whoa, okay, this is a lot. Like Christy hasn't sat down with herself and journaled about any of this yet. You know what I mean? Like she's just carrying the weight of her responsibility. She knows how important her role is in the town, and she knows, yeah, she knows how valuable it is. So she can't really crack, but we're starting to see the pressures of what that looks like when you're carrying all of that. So I'm just as curious as you to see where that goes because I'm seeing it happen. Like like there's an anger and a testiness to her this season too, and there's
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
like
I
here
can
for
see
it,
it's getting
but
to her, and I can see that
mhm.
it's frustrating her. I mean, do you think we'll ever see Christy with her feet up, you know, with a nice book anytime soon?
God no. I mean, they gave me an injury this season, but even then she's
Well,
hobbling
yeah.
around on crutches like trying to get shit done because she does not she for sure does not want to sit with herself. Like she's a
Well,
big avoidant.
funnily enough, a friend of mine, Jake Sharpstone, did mention he's just sent me a message. Could you ask her if she's recovered from the animal trap yet? Well, we've got to find out. We've got to find out because obviously
We
that was the
must
end of the
know.
last episode.
Yeah.
That was great. How they did that. You know,
Hmm.
I've got to give a shout out to the people that do the visual effects on this show, and the people that do all the creature effects. It's absolutely amazing what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks
Yeah.
so real from someone like yourself that has had experience in seeing, you know, gore and you know
Hmm.
injuries. You know how real. I mean, are you sort of laid there thinking, no, that don't look real. No, you need to do this. You need to do that. I mean, do
The
they do a great job?
Yeah, they do an incredible job. Like, I'm, like, aghast sometimes. I'm just like, "Wait." I have to, like, remind myself that it's magic and that it's not real, you know what I mean? Because 'Cause I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." Like, Tian Chen's body, like, when
Mm,
we saw that, I was like, her skin, like, the way it was placed and where her, like, jawbone intercepted her, like, I was just like, "Oh my god, it's her." But it wasn't her.
mm,
It was such a trip. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, you have to, like,
I've
remind
got a
yourself that
confession as
it's
well. I actually cried at that moment, and I also
yeah.
cried at the moment with you and Ricky in the sort of diner, because the way
Yeah.
that he acted, because
Yeah.
it wasn't that long ago since I lost my dad, and seeing the emotions that he went through and that confusion, denial, and you could physically see that roller coaster of emotions,
Yeah.
and it was spot on, and it really
Yeah.
got to me because it was so true and honest and raw, and then your character's reaction to them to him as well was, you're there, but you don't want to be too close. But do you know what I mean? You're there just to
Mm,
create that safe environment for him, and it was such a touching moment.
mm.
It must be incredible to have scenes with actors that really up your game. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like someone else that is so good, like you, that you can create that magic together. I mean, what is that like to act opposite people that really are brilliant like yourself?
Yeah, Ricky's incredible. He's one of those special actors. And yeah, when you're in scenes with folks like that, it reignites your love for this craft and your love of humanity and all the mess that comes with it and all the joy and everything in between. And when you're just like in flow with another actor who's across from you, just present with you, it's yeah, that's what we chase as actors. And it's super beautiful when it lands and when you can just be so truthful moment to moment with someone. No one's acting or like trying to one up. It's just like we're here, we're connected. I don't know what's going to happen, but we trust each other. And yeah, it's all trust and just yeah, it's amazing when it happens.
Do you know what? It must be amazing to be on set and see that and witness that, live.
Hmm.
And then we talk about some of your tense moments. I mean, you've been through a lot. From a performer's point of view, how did you sort of offload all of that after the scenes? Because it must be so emotionally and physically draining to go through this work as a performer, finish, they shout cut, and you walk away. But then you've got to sort of unload, this character and these feelings in such a way that, is healthy for you. I mean, how do you do that?
Lots of therapy. No, therapy for sure. But I mean, and Christy's an interesting one too because she's so held all the time. So there's so much going on. Like playing her, there's so much going on, like and that I'm feeling, but I can't. There's like no catharsis a lot of the time for her. She doesn't get that big release. Like there's just no time for that, and that's not in her character. But she's feeling all of those things. So it's like blue balling yourself. Like that's how I feel playing her. I feel like I'm just constantly emotionally blue balling myself. And the odd time there's the release, but yeah, you have to go find I usually go in a corner and just cry, let it out,
Mm.
and then you go again. Yeah. Or I go
because
home and wail.
you
Like
talk
it's
about therapy, and I've just got an image of like this therapy group in a church hall, and you go in, it's got all these actors in just one big circle,
my
talking
nightmare.
about all their roles. Do you know what I mean? Like, and how heavy it was and stuff like that. But saying that though, I think it isn't a bad idea, because you get some actors that are so method that they live their characters, and it must be absolutely one, a pain to live with. Live with them if they're you know if they've got like a juicy and quite a aggressive character. But no, I mean, if anyone watching right now wants to ask a question to the lovely Chloe, please comment below and we'll read it out. Let's talk about the writers, because the writing on this is incredible. how far in advance do you know the story and your story arc? Is it episode by episode? Is it season by season? I mean, how far in advance do you find out?
Yeah. Like not very far in advance at all. We started shooting and we had episode 1 and 2 like a week before we started shooting. Like we don't know where our character is going. So we shoot in blocks. We shoot 5 blocks a season, 2 episodes a block. So we'll get 2 episodes for that block and that's all the information we'll get. And it's usually a week before the block starts shooting. So yeah,
Do you
a
ever
week before. We get a week's notice.
that is nothing, but I suppose it does help you with your character, because if you knew like 4 episodes down that X was going to happen, I suppose you'd be thinking about that. Do you ever get tempted to actually approach the writers, because now you've played your character now for the last like 3 seasons, to go and say, I think that she should do this or she should do that, or are they not open to that, or do you feel that that's not needed?
I mean, John's amazing. He will always take the time to chat with us, like if we have any offers or we're thinking about things, but whether he uses it or not is up to his discretion. Uh,
And obviously,
and
if he
anytime I
uses
like
it,
try to
it's
pick
all his
brain,
idea.
yeah, or anytime I try to pick his brain or like try to get something out of him, he's just like he's locked down. He's just like, really? Is that what you think? Okay. Like he won't give anything away. But he's so wonderful. Especially with some medical scenes and stuff like that, because I'm a healthcare provider, like they trusted me so much to adjust the writing of that and make it as authentic as possible, and like things like that he's so open to. And yeah, he's always down to hear you out. So, but yeah, he won't tell us shit.
How dare he? I wonder
Yeah.
if, because obviously there's no news on season 4 yet, and it's still yet to be confirmed. I wonder if that season's already been written yet, or the storyline. I would love to know that. But when reading the scripts for your character, has it been a moment that you've read it and thought, oh my days? That wow moment, that, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. Was there a moment that happened to you when you was reading the scripts for the first time?
I think anytime a character dies is always shocking when you read. Like I'm just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And then I just get sad, and then
Do you get the scripts all at the same time? Because I can imagine, say, if you got the scripts for everyone else and you realize that someone dies, uh, d- are you all on like a WhatsApp group?
yeah,
And
we're all
then
in a WhatsApp group.
do you just
We
like
have a
do you,
WhatsApp
do
group.
do you just like remove that person? You're dying,
Imagine that's
so let's get them out because we're going to talk about them.
so traumatic. No, anyone who's deceased in our show is still in the still in the From WhatsApp group. But John's very good about it. Like the creators are very good. If someone is deceasing on the show, they will tell them first before everyone else knows. So at least they give that kindness so that they can be prepped. But yeah, it's still nerve-wracking every time we get a script. You're just like, what's gonna happen?
There's a really nice question here from Julia Plews, a good friend of the show's. Chloe, which are you most proud of, being a supportive nurse or an actress?
I mean, I'm proud of both of them for different reasons and reasons that also overlap each other. I mean, I wouldn't be the actor or artist that I am today without nursing, and nursing's taught me so much about humanity and honestly how to be an actor. Nursing is mostly acting. Like ask any nurse. They're feeling one thing and saying another. So
But if you had to have a choice between acting or nursing, that is such a difficult question, I know.
that's such a hard question, and I'm never gonna choose.
Yeah, no comment. No comment. I'm not going to. Right.
No.
So we've got Taryn here. Hello. And thank you, Brian. It's all right, mate. Please, may you ask Chloe if her and the other actors ever theorize together to try and
Theorize?
solve the show. So, I don't know how much you know about what's happening in the show in the way of the future. I mean, do you ever come up with your own theories on what's going to happen, because season 1 to season 2, it's all sort of changed. And then now we're
Yeah.
going into season 3, and Fatima's having a demon baby. That is my
Something like that.
yeah,
That's your theory?
that's my theory. She's eating all the
Mm.
rotten thingies, and now she's eating the yeah. Bleh. It's awful.
Yeah.
That scene was awful.
I know. And she's so good too. It's just
Oh,
like
she's fantastic.
just the way. Oh
So
my God, I'm
so
just
do
like
you on
sick
that
to my stomach.
WhatsApp group talk about, sort of what's going on and what you think's going to happen next?
Yeah, I mean, everyone drives themselves mental trying to figure it out. And just when we think we figured it out, like John throws us a curveball and we're like, well, that's bunk. Yeah, no, we have no idea, but we keep trying. But the fan folks have come up with some pretty interesting theories too. But I'm also afraid of Reddit and the internet, so I hear about them
Yes.
secondhand.
Yes, yeah. Talking about the fans, that's a good segue. The fans for this show is nothing short but passionate. I mean, they are
Passionate is a
quite.
word, yes.
I would say obsessive, but in a good way, because there are groups on Facebook that have got over 160, 180,000 members, and there's loads of
Yeah.
groups, which is crazy. What has your fan interactions been like on like social media? And has anyone like approached you in Toronto and recognized you and tried to, say, I found you?
I actually had a patient a few weeks ago be like, "You look really familiar. Like you look like this girl on the show we're watching." Like it was a patient of mine because I was working at the hospital, and I was like, "Oh, really? Like what show?" And he's like, "The show's called From." He was like, "Have you heard of it?" I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I hear it's pretty good." He's like, "Yeah." And I just kind of like left it at that because I'm like in uniform as a nurse. Like I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say it. But
You're not
yeah,
going to like walk over to the TV and turn it on and just stand there
and be like,
while like you're
"Yeah."
going, oh, look, this show. Oh, look at that. Oh, bless. You could have made their day by saying, yeah, it's me. I'll sign your forehead or something, you know?
Sign your forehead. Let me just
Yeah. You
no.
know,
It's sometimes it's yeah, no, it's like an interesting thing being noticed or yeah, recognized. Yeah, it
do you
happens.
find it's a bit awkward as well, sort of when you get that fan interaction and sort of I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you're in this game now, and you're gonna be recognised, and you're gonna be sort of um, idolized, I suppose, because actors are, to an extent. I mean, does that worry you? Does that, concern you? Because I'm not saying that there's some unusual people out there, but there is. So
Oh, there are
are you
some unusual people out there, I
are
can
you
confirm.
prepared for that? Have you got things in place?
Do you have a strategy?
Yes.
Do you have a bunker? No, I think it's fun. It's mostly fun and
Yeah,
like quite harmless. And yeah, a bit of an adjustment for sure. But yeah, I mean, without a fan base, we wouldn't have a show. So we need him around.
exactly. Exactly. And then I've talked to you about scripts. Another thing as well, Hannah was saying that was on the show. When did I speak to Hannah? I think it was Monday. And Hannah was saying that a lot of the fans have actually got it close to what the storyline is going to be, which I find it quite interesting. Have you seen some fan theories that that may be right?
Yeah, I've seen a couple in terms of like where season 3 is going because I don't know what's happening in the whole story of Fromland, but I've seen some stuff online and I'm like, they figured some stuff out. Yeah.
Let's bring them on as the writers. Um, I've got to ask as well, from your professional background as a nurse, and obviously your
Yeah.
part on this show, um, there is a scene where there's a young lady that is sat by a tree, and she's got a big pole through her head. Right? Is that real? Can someone actually survive that? Because I was looking at that, and that's what I was thinking all night afterwards. I was thinking, can that actually
Yeah.
happen? because it
I
freaked me out.
had I had the same question. I was like, John, is this real? And he's like, I swear to God, I looked it up. And then I looked it up, and there was a case of a man like 15 years ago where he got a pole through the head and survived. Yeah, he needed an
Wow.
extensive amount of surgery in order to survive, but there was a case where he got impaled and it missed the parts that would have ended his life. So he
Wow.
survived, but needed surgery. And well, we didn't have an
No.
OR theater in from town, so yeah, it didn't work
No.
out for her.
No, it didn't. We didn't see her again after
Yeah,
that.
the other one was the the person to person blood transfusion. I was like I was like, this is some TV magic right here. But I'll let it slide.
I think it can slide because you've got demons in the woods. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
we're not going to be worried about the accuracy of a blood transfusion, but
I
the
know, but
rest is done
I think
perfect.
my nurse ego gets in the way, and I'm like, we gotta be authentic. But they've given me so much that
I bet your friends,
I'll let that
I
one
bet your
slide.
friends that you work with, it's giving you jip going, yeah, it's not like that. You know what I mean? And you're like,
Yeah.
well,
They
it's
have
an,
fun though because I consult them on a lot of stuff too. Like I'll ask their opinion and all that, so they get really into it. Like I had some friends help me out with the RV scene in season 1 of just like how would this go down, and they had a ton of fun just like getting creative with it. And then I would give those offers over to John, and he's like, "Oh, I love that. I'll write that in." Like it's fun.
oh, that's awesome. And then
Yeah.
is there a favorite scene that you've been in to date, in the show that will always stay with you? Like the most rewarding that you've walked away and gone, you know what? Yeah, I like that. I did a good job there.
I love that. I I felt my feelings there.
Yeah.
I think I think when Christy Marielle reunite, that
Mm,
was really cool because I think so much was said without saying a single word. And yeah, as an
definitely.
actor, that was a really cool scene to shoot, and Kalen's so wonderful that yeah, you just again, it was like one of those scenes where you just have to like show up, trust each other, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
It was really touching as
Uh
well because you can see the sort of all the feelings on the screen without literally saying a word, and then you could see how vulnerable she was, and the journey that she's going on. And I just hope things turn out okay because I want your character and her character to be happy, and I just want happiness, and it's not going to
we
happen
just
in
want
from
people to be
you know,
happy.
yeah, just don't be eaten or whatever. Have you kept anything from the show as a memento? Have you stolen anything?
Have I stolen
Yeah,
anything? Other than your heart's on screen?
exactly.
No, we're not allowed to take anything. They're pretty on our case. Like I can't even take a rock from like the ground. Like
Yeah, you
they're on
can.
it.
Yeah, you can. Just take in a
They're just
duffel
bad at
bag and it's
stealing.
fine. If it fits in a bag, you can have it. But I don't know what you would actually take. I suppose a talisman or
Yeah. I have one of those actually. I do have
yeah,
one of
you got it
those.
as is it a end of season gift? I think it was. I think
It was
Hannah
like
or Pegger
a
mentioned it.
yeah, we got them in like the mail from MGM. They're like, "Here's your talisman.
Just
Be safe at
randomly
night.
in the
Good
mail.
luck."
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the mail. You're
I
thinking,
was
oh
like, "Am I
dear,
still at work?"
what am I preparing for? So have you heard any rumblings about season 4? Or is it a case of, I mean, are you contracted for another season? Or is it a case of you're contracted for 2 or 3 and it depends if it gets picked up for another season?
We have a contract, but again, it's based on if it gets picked up or not. So hopefully we find out soon. There's some rumblings, but again, nothing officially confirmed.
Yeah, because it annoys me when networks don't renew shows that are just amazing. I keep saying it, but
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Warrior Nun, and I support that show so much, and I
Mhm.
can't believe they cancelled that. So fingers crossed. This show's doing so well. And so I wanted to ask, what's next for you? Because I heard that there's a horror movie that you've made or making.
I'm in. Yeah, it's this crazy, crazy horror film coming out. I think next year at some point, called Son of Sarah. And she couldn't be further from Christy, and that's very exciting. Yeah, it's like an ode to Rosemary's Baby in a way. It follows this queer couple like days before they're about to give birth to their kid, but there's been something up with this pregnancy the whole time, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's
Ah,
great. It's crazy.
ah, that
Yeah,
sounds
it's
spooky
very
as hell.
bloody and gory and gross and funny, and there's a lot of eating weird things, a lot of gagging, a lot
Oh
of just
no.
like things out of orifices. Yeah, it's disgusting, and I can't wait.
It can't be as bad as the Terrifier, which
I haven't seen that.
me neither. Apparently, people are walking out the cinema being sick because it's that graphic. But I won't see it because
Really?
I'm afraid of clowns, and it's got a
Oh,
clown
that's
in
the
it called
clown
Art.
one. That
Yeah,
people, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
And I got asked to go down to London to interview the director and the cast, and
Oh,
and
no
I
way.
said no because I don't like clowns and I'm not watching that movie. I've got issues. I've got issues. I don't like clowns and I don't like creams. That are me. There are my only.
Creams?
Yeah, I don't like
Like,
any
can you
creams.
expand on that? You don't like
So so
I need more information.
I don't like any creams. So any like sort of sun lotion, Sudocreme or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't like. If it's
How do you
on me,
stay
I I
hydrated?
don't. I don't. I just hope for the best. Because it gives me a physical sort of I throw up and it's really weird. See, years ago I
Oh,
used to be a prison officer and
really?
and I was on the girls' units, and one of the girls had kicked off in a cell, and we opened the cell door slightly and put our arm in to stop it from getting slammed on our faces. Well, unknown to me, when I opened the door and I put my arm in, she had thrown a big tub of what they call Sudocreme, which is like a thick white cream.
Mhm.
And then as I took my arm away, my whole arm literally was just full of this cream. I looked at it, I gagged, and I was like, and I had to run to the toilet. And yeah, and my wife thinks it's absolutely hilarious.
Oh
There
my
is a story.
God.
There is a story behind it. There is a story behind it, but I can't. So
Like your cream trauma?
yeah, and
Yeah,
and and I can't say it live on here, but I could tell you
so
afterwards. But
curious.
it is hilarious. But you know what, Chloe? Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank
I
you.
cannot wait to watch the rest of this season. It's absolutely rocking it.
Yeah, me
Everyone's
too.
speaking
So
highly of
good.
the show and your character,
Mhm.
and I can't wait to get you on the show again for the horror movie for next year, and we can talk
Yeah,
about things coming
yeah.
out of orifices and disgusting
Oh,
things.
yeah.
And yeah, it would be great. But don't go anywhere, Chloe. I'm going to end the
Yeah,
stream and say goodbye to you properly afterwards. But thank you,
yeah.
everyone watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I nearly said don't hit subscribe. And join us next week where
Words
we've
are
got
hard.
Dylan Walsh from Nip Tuck and Superman and Lois on the show live with us next Wednesday. So look after yourself, keep safe, and stay super. And I'm going to press the goodbye button. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you very much. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
See you later.